Hah.
Hello all! Welcome to Uzakrota Online Travel Startup and Investment Stage. I'm Yeşer Sarıyıldız, the co-founder of MBSAys, a digital communication agency in Turkey. We will be together in this hall for 3 days. Although 2020 is a terrible year for the travel industry, it's very exciting to be with nearly 100,000 people from over 90 countries sitting in their pajamas, thanks to the digital transformation. Difficult for everyone, especially the travel industry, 2020 was more challenging for travel startups. Most of them continue still in survival mode during the pandemic. However, with the introduction of the vaccine and the opening of the borders, the valuations seem to increase rapidly. It's actually an advantage for investors. Now, here is the CEO and co-founder of the Falkenstein Adventures, Beat Blazer. He will tell us about the post-coronavirus global competition and investments. So if you are ready, the stage is yours.
Hi.
Hi. So the stage is yours. I will turn off my camera and microphone. Mr. Beat, you can start whenever you want. We are all ears. Do you hear us?
Yeah, can you see my screen? I'm not sure whether that works.
No, we cannot see your screen. But we can see you.
Okay. Let me just check why this doesn't work.
Okay.
Can you see the screen now?
No, still not. I cannot.
So how can we change that?
So I'm writing to our tech guy. I think they will help us.
But it says to me the presentation is online.
Yeah, now we can see it. Okay.
Now you can see it?
Yeah, we can see it. You can make it full screen and then you can start. Yeah, great.
Doesn't really work. Let's do it this way. Okay, so sorry for the delay and hello everybody around the world. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I think the world needs positive get-togethers and powwows like this in those times. So very excited to be a part of this session today. And the topic I was given is called Post-Corona Global Competition and Investments. Now, I obviously can't speak for the whole world, but I love to give you some insights about us, about our venture capital firm, about how we went through the pandemic up until so far, what changed, and what is our outlook going forward. My name is Beat. It's not Beat. It's a typical Swiss name. And I have co-founded Falkenstein Adventures some 2 years ago. And we are based in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Italy. And basically, we are everywhere where our startup companies are. But our focus is really in Central Europe, Continental Europe, etc. We are called Falkenstein Adventures, and my partner, Erich Falkensteiner, he owns a hotel chain. Some of you might have heard of the brand Falkensteiner. They have some 30 to 35 hotels, mainly in Austria, Italy, and Croatia. All of them, or almost all of them, in the leisure segment. And well, luckily in the leisure segment, I can say. And myself, I cover more of the right-hand side of this chart. I spent my whole life, my whole business life in travel and hospitality. Started with Corny, then a little bit with TUI, and I had a long time with Thomas Cook up until 2018, before I left the company. And the good thing in this constellation is, even though Falkenstein Adventures has nothing to do with the hotel chain, because it's a complete separate business, we always have a little bit of a temperature which we can feel in the hotel chain. How is hotel doing? How is travel doing? How is leisure travel doing? So that gives us a good feeling, not just to invest in companies, but equally also to understand how does the reality look like in travel. And when we started Falkenstein Adventures some 2 years ago, our motivation really was that we wanted to leave footprints in travel and hospitality, specifically because, well, obviously, if you look at the guys on the right-hand side, there's a lot of business models in travel which we think and are at the end of the life cycle. And obviously, some of those brands not even there anymore. And if you look into hospitality, there's also a huge amount of potential for new companies, for technology companies, for software as a service companies, for people who can do a better job in the back of the house with new software. And that was really the motivation for us to go in this venture capital space, as we are 100% focused on travel, hospitality, leisure, and a little bit of elderly care. So we are like all of you in the online event today and the next couple of days. We are exposed 100% with Corona, obviously, but we truly believe that these are good times for investors. As time goes by, we believe that everybody who will survive, let's say, the next couple of months, will really be in a good position, specifically startup companies, specifically travel tech companies. So it's an exciting time, even though we have a couple of difficult months still ahead of us, I guess. Well, we are a team of 3 general partners, and the middle and the main man is Erich Falkensteiner. And up until so far, we are investing just our own money. So we are a relatively small boutique venture capital accelerator, how we call it. But as we speak, we are also evaluating whether there will be a fund coming from our end 2021. What we are doing and our business model today is, and that the same goes for a lot of companies which are in the venture capital space. Well, we actually just support founders and startup companies. and we are supporting them very early stage, mostly in the pre-seed and seed stage. And we are investing in the first chunk up until 500,000 euros, mainly in travel tech companies, hospitality tech companies, and as I said, a little bit also in the leisure and the elderly care industry. And if you look what we are doing, we are calling ourselves a smart money investor. So our self-understanding really is we want to take stones out of the way of the founders, and we want to open door. We want to support them with mentorship and really open doors. And I guess for the audience here and the startups in this session, or even people who are thinking about founding their own business or their own company, there's tons of similar companies out there in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East, in North America, and everywhere around the world. So what we are doing is nothing but not unique. And whatever you are planning to do, if you're launching your own business, obviously it's still a good time because you will definitely find partners out there who want to support your business ideas and who want to support your team, as long as obviously it is a good idea and a good team. Like everybody in this place, when venture capital firms like us, bigger ones, smaller ones, business angels, everybody who invests money, they're more or less looking for the same things when looking into pitch decks. And I guess the one most important thing really is how strong is a team. And this has been important before. And I truly believe this has become even more important for investors to have a resilient team, an experienced team, a team who is willing to go through thick and thin. And just resilience, I guess, has become even more important going forward. So if you are thinking of founding your own venture or your own company, just make sure you have a brilliant team with complementary people, profiles and characters. I guess that's really the most important thing for venture companies like us. Then obviously market potential is an important one. We usually talk a lot about valuation. Valuation in the early stage sometimes is even a little bit exaggerated or overheated discussions. I think it's not so important in the early stage about spending weeks and months about talking valuation. I guess it's really in the early stage about kicking off your idea, making sure you have a brilliant team, and also finding a handshake with your investor, obviously where they think it's a good valuation with the business or the idea at whatever stage you will come up with. Lots of folks like us, if you're a smart money investor, you obviously ask yourself the question, can we really enhance the value? So as said, one of the most important things we are trying to support our startups with is opening doors. That obviously has a lot to do with networking and knowing people around the world and taking obstacles out of the way. Which can be like a financial support or marketing support or stuff they haven't done before. And the question for us is always, can we really enhance value? Can we support them? And I guess we can do this in travel and hospitality because we consider ourselves industry experts. But if you're thinking about onboarding an investor who is not just focused about travel and hospitality, that might equally be good because they might be more experienced in scaling up businesses and have other advantages. You just need to find out whether you have a good click with your investor. Now, I guess everybody's looking for moonshot potential. If you are on our side of the table, you see a lot of a lot of pitch decks coming in, which repetitively do the same, more of the same, you would say. And from time to time, and now especially in those times post-pandemic, you find business ideas where people have not thought of before. And I guess that's also what is appealing to investors. If people say it's not just enhancing what is already there out in the market, but is there really something new, a new painkiller, or something which startup companies want to do fundamentally different compared to the past? That then also relates to the uniqueness. And like I said, this is how we look at the world when we scan pitch decks and take our decisions about where to invest. And this is how most of the people in the industries would look at the investment opportunities. If you have a look at our current participation startups portfolio, like I said, we started like 2 years ago, and we are now between 17 and 20 investments which we have done up until so far. And even one exit has been amongst them, luckily, in February 2020, just shortly before the pandemic really hit Europe. And a large part of our inventory is software as a service companies for hotel technology, like SmartHost, like SmeetPad, like Meeting Package and Avisio and the likes. And like I said, we truly believe there's a huge potential out there for technology companies to do stuff better in hotels. Not so much the huge hotel chains, the big hotel chains, but single hotels, small hotels, or small groups where you can do stuff a lot better than it has been done before. We do a lot of investments equally in camping, glamping, and outdoor, which are like Vavidi, JetCamp, and Campstar. It has been an important topic for us before COVID because we truly believe that this segment is going to go through the roof in the next decade. Then came Corona, and obviously that only helped to accelerate this trend. Now, if you are thinking about doing stuff differently in travel and hospitality, I would say that outdoors, camping, campers, and the likes is definitely a good place to be, and definitely also a market where there's a lot of potential to invent new stuff, or also to compete against others who are already there. Then we are focused a lot in travel, and we also do a little bit of stuff in food and beverage industry. But like I said, the main point really is technology, and we love, and I guess there's a lot of investors out there who love the interface where old economy and new economy come together, and where you can do stuff just simply better than it's been done up until today. Now, the question is, will investments in travel still continue, and how does the world look like? And if you ask me, then obviously it's a no-brainer. Yes, it will. I believe that there's a lot of people out there who are a little bit more reluctant to invest in travel and hospitality if they are not industry experts. Which is understandable. So people will probably shift more into other industries, into other verticals. But I guess if you have a profound understanding of the travel industry, like all of the folks in this conference have, well, travel will be back, vaccine will be there, and it's a question of a couple of months, in my view, until we will go back to more of a normality. And hopefully then travel will explode as everybody, which I know in our environment, everybody wants to travel and want to go back to a normal. Now, obviously there will also be differences between segments. So probably the cruise industry hit more, probably flight packages hit more, but like everybody of you knows, domestic travel and short breaks, weekend breaks, etc. Everything which is a little bit more in your environment, in a shorter radius, definitely is going to go well next year, which is our true belief. And now from an investor's point of view, the question is, does it then at all make sense to invest into travel companies, into travel VCs, or into travel startups, into travel funds maybe? There's a few travel funds out there. And we truly believe that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, because if you look at this chart here, which represents the stocks 600, you can see that let's say the peak of the mountains 2000, 2001 is not so much different than it was beginning of 2020. Well, the reasons are clear. There's been a lot of movement in the world. There's been 2008 with Lehman Brothers and the likes, now 2020 obviously with Corona. So, and if you look at this niveau, at this platform, the stock 600 reached, then you might ask yourself, okay, is this really the best I can get out of my money? And the answer is no. So a good idea to invest and to have a higher risk, obviously, but also a higher return is, for instance, if you go into venture capital firms, into funds, into startup companies in that space, because we truly believe that they have the potential to outperform the market in the next decade. So if you are thinking of launching your venture, your own startup, then make sure you have a clear plan in mind, and make sure you also are able to convince your investors that you are going to outperform, let's say, versus an opportunity just investing into stocks or other funds or baskets. We believe that travel startups really need to outperform in the future, and yes, it's a good place to be going forward. Now, a little bit of looking back. How has venture capital and travel and hospitality looked like in the past? And then what do we think, how will this look like in the future? Now, as everybody knows, I guess it has never been easier to start your startup company, specifically in travel. What do you need? You need a MacBook, you need an iPhone or something alike, you need a little bit of Google, and then you can literally start. So it has never been easier to launch your startup, but obviously the price of success has never been higher. It's not my quote, it's a quote from Focusrite. And we also believe that this will hold for the future. And if you look into how investments looked like in the past decade or 10 years or so, you can see that most of the venture capital funding went into Asia Pacific, about 40%. Like 30% went into North America, obviously mainly the US, and let's say Europe and the rest of the world, which includes also Middle East, has been relatively small compared to how much travel is going on in that region. And we also believe it's a good time for Europe now to catch up and not just let the guys from the US and the guys from China dominate the market. As I said, because most of the travel still, leisure travel still happening in Europe. So it's a good time to be in the market, and it's a good time to trying to break through and to come up with maybe even a disruptive technology and to be part of that game. What this chart represents here is that a little bit contrary to where the investment money went to Asia Pacific mainly, equals China, and to the US and North America, you can see that most of leisure travel activities in the world, they still are happening in Europe. And which is a bit of a paradox that investments are being done elsewhere, mainly, but a lot of things are going up in Europe. And again, I would only want to encourage people who are thinking about launching their business. It's a good time to be in Europe. It's a good place to be here. And it's a good time to start your business, as so many other businesses are suffering. It's a good time if you start something from scratch. Like everybody knows, the world looked pretty robust if you were in travel before February this year. I guess almost all of the signals, they showed growth. We saw steep growth in lots of city trips all around the world, in Europe specifically. Small cities, big cities were doing really well. We also saw a continuous growth from the Asian, specifically the Chinese outbound market. US and Latin America were doing well. In terms of incoming business into Europe, the Millennium Muslim market, I always thought was exciting what is going on and how much potential is in there. So basically, you could say it all looked pretty well. And we also believe that this will be coming back. Well, we need to believe that. If you are in that space, if you are exposed to that space, you need to believe it comes back. But I guess the strongest sign is that many people have continued to do their investments also during the pandemic into businesses in travel. Maybe being a little bit more reluctant, maybe it took a little bit more time. But we believe that this will be coming back, and again, it's a good place to be. What we think how the world, in terms of startup companies and investments, could look like post-corona or during / in the next couple of months. And the question which is asked a lot to us is, which way are investments shifting? Well, again, I can't speak for the whole world. We can just speak for what we are seeing and what we are also researching and how we are acting. And this is what I would give you a little bit of a flavor. Now, I like this chart a lot. It's a busy chart. It stems from the Kompetenzzentrum des Bundes in Germany. And it's a view on how optimistic, realistic, or pessimistic segments would develop. And this view is a snapshot from April. Now, obviously, if we look into how travel has developed in the last couple of months, I guess that people are aware that domestic travel, like I said, in the leisure sector, that went pretty well. Up until maybe October, and then November was again a bit uphill. And the outdoor space went well, the camping space and glamping space went really well. And like I said, other segments, flights and cruises, unfortunately, hit a lot harder. And for us, this is something which we are evaluating, and obviously all of the investors in that space are evaluating like week by week. How is this going to develop? But again, we believe it's coming back. What we are also using a little bit as a guideline for our future investments, and I guess a lot of folks are acting similarly. What are the post-COVID tendencies, which you can see? And what does this mean for you? And take some of those bubbles, like a tendency, like I said, is certainly it's going to be more regional or nearby. It's going to be even more thoughtful, not just because about the climate, but also because how you and I, how consumers react. probably it's a bit less the time in the future about flying, I don't know, around the world in 36 hours or doing quick transatlantic flights over the weekend. It's an obvious one that is going to change, and I think thoughtfulness in travel is an important guideline how you want to set up your business or how you want to invest your money. Uncertainty will remain with vaccine or not, and I guess everybody who is flexible and has the capability to be agile, it's a huge gift. So if you're a small company or at least a very agile company, you have experienced that in the past, it has been brilliant, and it will be even more important in the future. Mobility has changed a lot. People in the older generations, everybody used to have their own car. Now, the newer generations, they don't need to have their own car, well, mainly if they are in big cities where public transportation and new ways of transport are there. And we also believe that's going to be a huge potential for the future. Economy back to nature, like I said, that also correlates a lot with thoughtful travel. It's going to be even more individualistic. It's going to be more about me, myself, and I, or us, and a little bit less like the old mass market products which we have seen. And I guess one of the guiding topics will also be convenience. So everything which is easy to book, easy to understand, easy to buy, will work well, and complicated stuff which doesn't need meet the customer purpose will be difficult going forward. Now, what that means for us, and probably a little bit, we see our investment corridors going forward. Like I said, hospitality will be an important segment for us, has been and will be. Not so much just where the booking happens, but definitely in the back of the house, let's say in stuff like supply chain, transparency in terms of accounting, and knowing where they stand with their financials. So back of the house software as a service, we believe there's still a huge potential out there. Again, not so much for the big chains, but for the smaller hospitality, which represent a huge part of the industry. We believe that vacation rentals, camping and glamping, which we are seeing, are doing really well. And we believe also that there's going to be a lot of consolidation in those spaces and a lot of new business models emerging. So if you're thinking of inventing something new or starting your own business, it's a good place to be. Travel and mobility will remain one of our focus, equally like the leisure segment. And maybe something which is also a topic and give you some food for thought is the segment of elderly care. And why are we addressing the segment of elderly care? Well, obviously, it's one of the biggest problems or developments which we are seeing in many places of the world, especially in Europe and North America. And we believe if you are in hospitality, if you treat your customers well, maybe there's some good thinking and some good ideas which you can adopt from hospitality to elderly care, specifically when it comes about supporting people and their environment with technology, just allowing people to stay longer at their home and not just to push them in elderly care homes. So probably it's a good idea to think about potential in this space as well. Voila. So what does remain after those obvious discussions? There's a couple of things which will not change if you are thinking about launching your own business, about trying to find investors. And I've just reused one of those many lists who are out there in the market about what are the top reasons why startups fail. Number one is there's no market need. Number two, they run out of cash. And number three, and probably for us the most important one, it's not the right team. So, and I guess, like I said earlier, this will not fundamentally change or become even more important going forward. So if you are thinking about trying to find an investor, building your own business, make sure you have the right team, make sure you have the right funding, and make sure you have properly evaluated that there is really a need in terms of what you're building. And even if it is stating a little bit the obvious, I would want to give you a little bit of our insight as well. Number one reason why startups fail, there's no market need. So there's a lot of people coming and approaching venture capital companies like us with nice pitch decks and good ideas, but in many cases they have not been tested with the customer or really evaluated well enough whether there's a true potential to monetize a good idea. So make sure you test it, make sure you speak with as many people as you can, share your idea. We sometimes hear the question, should we share the idea? Should we let people sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement? And I truly believe no. Share your idea, get feedback from as many folks around, well, in your environment, and try to sound your idea and make sure that you have a robust understanding whether there is really a market need or it's just a good idea. So research and make sure you have a team who has the same understanding. And when I say team, then not only a startup and the founders team, but also consider as part of your team your investors. It is a bit like being in a marriage. If you have your investor, you need to live with them for a couple of years, shorter years or longer years, but make sure you click well with them and make sure you don't have a stressful situation from scratch with your investors, which is normally not a good idea. And number three of the reasons in that list was, again, it's not startups do not have the right team. And I also only want to underline what I said, how important this is if you're thinking about building your own startup venture. Make sure you have the right team. Make sure you have the right skills and the right talent. And also make sure you consider the team, like I said, not just the founders, but also your seed investors, your sponsors, your advisory boards. So it is so important to have a good team and not just be a single player out there on your own. And then typically a process before a startup company gets funding is a lengthy one. This is a funnel which is probably typical, not just for us, but for most of the venture capital firms. You start with a massive deal flow. So venture capital firms like us, we see many pitch decks. And if people are not focused on one industry, they see even more pitch decks. So you need to make sure you stand out. Make sure you maybe speak a little bit more about your team, your profiles, your capabilities, your experience, your resilience, and not so much just about making sure you have, the same slides, they look the same like everybody else. Make sure you stand out. And then it goes normally down all the way through the funnel with interviews, benchmarking, second rounds, due diligence, and getting to know the people. And like I said, I would just recommend to people who are thinking about launching their own business, make sure you also spend enough time evaluating your investors because you need to stick a long time together with them. And if you have succeeded to go through all of this lengthy process and pass the due diligence and finally have the money on your account, well, then that's the next amazing stage. And like I said, I think it's a wonderful, it's not a wonderful, it's a good time to be in travel. We are a specialist in travel and hospitality, in venture capital, and we believe positively in the future. We believe it's a good time to start a new business, to invest in a new business now. Make sure you financially survive the winter, and then probably from March, April next year, hopefully it's going back through the roof. Voila. Thanks. And now I hope my moderator is back and we can maybe take some questions.
Hello, do you hear me?
I do.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the presentation. It was great. So I have a question for you. Could you please go back to the slide why startups fail? It was at number 2, I guess. There was a run out of cash.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, this one, run out of cash. Actually, whole travel industry is run out of cash right now. So how do you think travel startups should go through this pandemic process about the cash thing?
Yeah, I think make sure you stop your expenditure to the extent it is possible. We've helped many companies in our portfolio. We've seen that other venture capital firms done the same. Stop spending too much money. Be cautious. Hold your cash. Hold your money. Get fresh new money from either banks or loans or investors or subsidize or however you can make sure you get cash. But I guess the number one most important thing is do not wait and hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And just making sure you cut your cost to a radical level is probably a good advice if you look into the next couple of months, which we need to survive economically.
So some of the investors ask for the sales. Actually, do you have any income still in coronavirus, something like that? So lots of startups still expanding for marketing budget. Do you suggest this for marketing expense, or no, just cut the marketing expense as well?
No, I think there's no one size fits all. What we are seeing in our own portfolio and also hearing from other people is that specifically software as a service companies in hospitality, they went relatively well. Why? Because hotels were in lockdown and they had more time to listen to startup companies. They had more time to understand what tech can do versus what people are doing and are costing. And also we see in a lot of places that there's also a generation change. So the fathers would hand over business to their sons or to their daughters. And obviously the younger people, they are eager to implement more tech and do stuff better and more efficient. So software as a service in hospitality is a nice example to see how the last couple of months really went well. And also then it makes sense to spend a little bit in terms of marketing money.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your answers and thank you for your presentation as well. Thanks
a lot. And all the best to everybody. And hope to see you one day.
Yeah. Hope to see you after the coronavirus, I guess.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, yes, we left behind the first speech of our first day. It's lunch break time. I would like to remind you that it's a good time for networking since all the stages are at break. There is also a networking system where you can chat with the participants. I recommend you to use this opportunity. See you in half an hour, exactly at 30. Bye-bye.